Leveling the shaft and pillow blocks. Our next step is to level these shaft and pillow blocks. Now ideally we would have a short level and we would place in between the pillow block bearings. In this case you can see clearly it doesn't fit, nor does our preferred choice of level fit. So what we have to do instead is to extend out our shaft, which we do have the opportunity to do that. We extend out the shaft, leave this pretty much in place, and we will level this part of the shaft in comparison to our shim. So our shim ratio, just like with the motor, is the mounting distance in inches divided by our level distance in inches. Now our level distance can be the entire length of the level. In this case, we can also use this level. You can see there is a channel underneath that again is where we snap in the shaft. Very easy to use this way the level is perfectly in line with the shaft. We don't have to worry about tilting the level somewhat. You see here the bubble indicates that this end is a little high, this end will be a little low. For viewing purposes, I'm going to use this level. A little easier to see the bubble there. And this bubble indicates again that we're going too far to this side, the left. Now I want to know my effective distance for shimming purposes. And so I measure center to center. And I come up with 2 3/4 inches. You should have a lot wider range because this will probably be spread a little bit further on your lab stand than this. And if I measure my level distance, where I would tend to shim here, the distance would be from this corner to about where the feeler gauge I would use to help level it. And so that distance is going to be, looking at my ruler, from this edge in the corner, I should measure from this direction, more easily gotten to. From this corner over to the edge is about 3 3/4 inches. So since this is actually a longer distance than the mounting, my shim ratio is actually less than 1. And remember in the motor case, it was greater than 1, close to 2. This is going to be less than 1. So 2 3/4 inches divided by 3 3/4 inches is 0.72. So whatever I get for a feeler gauge for leveling, I should multiply by 0.72 to get the true shimming that I need for the pillow blocks to level this shaft. It's important, if the motor is going to be level, then this shaft, for the bearing's sake, should also be level so that it lines up better with the motor. So now what I'll do is I'll proceed to level. And leveling this, same rule of thumb, just like with the motor, it's make a guess. On this and pick out some appropriate feelers. And I've gone through several candidates. And for leveling purposes, what I find seems to work the best. Yes, that lines up just perfectly right there. So that you can see what I did. Shims, actually I should say feeler gauge. And there that bubble is perfectly centered between these 2 black marks. And so to get the proper ratio, it's 0.002, 0.008, that gives me 0.010, 0.010 also for 0.020, and finally add to that 0.012, which will give me the 0.032 inches. Now to multiply 0.032 inches by 0.72, I will get 0.024 inches. That's the shims that I will use to go under. And since I had to raise at the back end, that means I have to raise this back end, each block inside, by 0.024 inches on this, underneath this pillow block, and then underneath this pillow block. So I'll go ahead and proceed to do that. And typically we do that underneath the block just above the bed plate. I'll do it on the back side here. I have a collection of shims that adds up to my height. Lift and insert. And then when I go to re-verify, lo and behold, it's perfectly in line. This winds up being a perfectly leveled system of what I'm looking for. Next again is to line up the motor next to this and line up the motor shaft with this shaft.